Let's conclude our discussion on the game design process with a look at costs and limitations in design. Just like costs vary wildly in constructions, once again, from building a shed to building, a skyscraper or a mansion, the same is true for game development. This chart, which comes from the Games for Impact group, just shows average costs across different platforms. So you can get, an idea that, making a web-based game or a small mobile game is probably going to take a lot less money than creating a AAA, game for a modern console. Now, of course, you could have, a game for a console cost much less, but it probably wouldn't be of the AAA caliber. And of course, you could have a mobile game cost much more, to really amp up the scope and the quality of that game. So what drives cost? Different projects have different elements that drive the costs, but the typical line items on a budget are typically labor. Remember, games are made by people, and labor often is the biggest driver of cost on any game project. Like we said, for a AAA game, you may employ hundreds, if not thousands of people. And of course, the burn rate, the amount of money it takes to pay all those people on a monthly basis grows very quickly. Another driver of cost is technology. To make games, we often need a collection of hardware and software technology. We need the devices, we need the dev kits, we need, things to support that technology, perhaps servers, backups, motion capture, VR headsets, things like that. And all of those things, add up, of course. Depending on what we're making, there may be licensing costs for the intellectual property, based on maybe technology or the game engine that we're using, or it could be licensing of creative content. Maybe we're making a game based on some creative IP. Of course, there's also distribution costs. This used to be the cost to package up the game and ship it across the country and get it on the shelves. Currently today we mostly do digital distribution. So the distribution cost often is the cost that we're paying for the distribution channel, be it something like Steam or the App Store. Often there's something like a 70-30 split where the distribution channel is taking 30% of the cost. So if you sell a game for $10, they're taking $3 and you're getting $7 back. And then, of course, there's also the marketing costs. So how do we get people to know about your game and convert them into a customer of your game? Often, your marketing costs may be just as big as the development costs of the game. And, of course, there's also other overhead, other expenses in running a company. There may be rent, there may be utilities, there may be taxes, legal expenses, accounting expenses, supplies, furniture, business travel, et cetera, et cetera. All these things, of course, add up. And that's where limitations come in design. When we're talking about building games, we're always working with limitations. And one of the biggest limitations is money, back to what we just talked about with what drives cost. You never have enough money to do what you want to do often. So, budget is one of our biggest design limitations. Another limitation, of course, is technology itself. Technology is a great enabler that allows us to do great and wonderful things that we couldn't do without the technology, but it also can be a limitation. So, what's possible on a given game platform that we're building for? What's possible in a given game engine, to realize the vision of our game? All those things may limit us in some ways. Of course, time is always a limitation. It takes time to build games. I'm sure you've heard the famous quote that time is more valuable than money. You can always get more money, but you can never get more time. That definitely is a true statement when it comes to game development. Another limitation in design is expertise. What is the expertise of the team? What is the skill level of the team? It's very difficult to make a game, and it takes knowledge and experience to succeed. You build your skills over time, of course. Any new project I take on, I try to take baby steps forward to expand my skills. But I realize that, I'll not be able to take giant leaps on many fronts at the same time. Otherwise, I'll likely stumble. The same concept can be applied across the team. So, understanding where your team is at and what is possible with your team at that given moment is an important realization. The game designer Richard Roos III said that design is about understanding limitations and turning those limitations into advantages through knowledge and creativity. I always like this quote. It is a mindset that allows you to turn your deficits into assets as you design games.